So like introduce yourself, tell me about you and what you do, who you help, that kind of thing.
Okay, so the long and the short of it, my name's Sean. I'm with the Sales Ascenders. I'm the CSO and co-founder, along with my wife Melissa, and Chris Baden is our business partner. Super grateful to have them on board. Together, we've kind of visionarily led the charge, I suppose, and we've built some pretty big things in our pathway. My personal story starts back about 20 years ago when I came out of college, and I said, I asked my dad, I said, Dad, how do I make a lot of money? That was what I was driven by way back in the day. And he said, well, you have one of three choices. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. What are these choices, right? So the first one, he says, well, are you a CEO? And I'm just coming out of college. I'm 21, 22 years old. I feel like I'm on top of the world. I feel like I'm a CEO, but I know that I don't have the skills to be a CEO. So I was like, I would say yes, but that'd be lying. So no, right? And then, okay, so that's not it. He's like, are you an entertainer? I thought about this one for a second. I was like, I'm not black. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a dancer. I'm not like, I don't have the skills that like pro athletes and everything. Like, so no, I'm not an entertainer. What's the next choice? And he goes, well, you better learn sales. And I was like, okay. So then I started hunting around. I found a sales organization selling commodities. Now, most people are like, what are commodities, Sean? And so there are things like the edging of doors, like the aluminum extrusions that would go around like a screen door that you would open, like the actual band around the edges. So I'd sell that in huge bar stock, like big truckloads full. I'd send that to the manufacturer. They chop it up and make their stuff. So it's stuff that everyone needs and nobody cares about. That's what I used to sell when I started, and I didn't know how to sell. And so I was sat in this office and I was given this manufacturer's directory of numbers of people and a phone. And I was like, okay, that sounds easy enough. So I started picking up the phone, dialing, just fail, like 40 calls a day, 80 calls a day, 100 calls a day. And I did this for like 5 weeks with 0 results, dude. It's demoralizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been there?
I've been there. I've done cold calling. I was in financial services when I first started and just literally picking up the phone book and calling.
So you feel the pain, like it sucked, right?
And drains the life out of you.
Totally. And then I got to the place where my boss comes to me on Friday and he says, you better figure it out, otherwise you're gone. I'm like, okay. So I went home that weekend. I called my dad. I was totally distressed, tears. I was like, what do? I don't want to lose my job. It's my first thing out of college. He's like, go buy a book. So I went down to Barnes & Noble and literally I bought this exact book right here.
No way.
Yeah. This is the book I bought 20 years ago, right?
Love that dude's haircut. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right? And so I started reading that book and I was like, oh man, this is an interesting, new, different development that I've never tried before. And I go back in the next week, pick up the phone, and literally within my first 4 phone calls, I used the tactics out of that book and boom, I set an appointment. I was like, what just happened? This is crazy. And that moment in my life took me on this path of, I got to become the best communicator on earth. I'm on fire about sales. I want to learn how this works because that was just really cool to me. And so from that stage, that lit my fire. And then now I stand 20 years later saying I've spent like $400K on my own personal, well, Melissa and I have spent about that much money just on self-development of sales, communications, NLP, body language, neuroscience of sales, like anything sales you can ever think of. That's what I studied. So very classically trained. I went through all these different books. I've had lunch with Tom Hopkins. He's a good friend of mine. Just a great, amazing human being. Studied a lot of other different selling systems. Anyway, long story short, I started having success and I wanted my own business. So I found an opportunity from a girl I went to university with, and she said, my dad's looking for a partner. And I said, great. It's in this electronics field that I know a little bit about, because I was selling some electronic stuff at the time, and I ended up investing every penny I had, left Colorado, moved to Las Vegas, knew nobody, came by myself, and then I started working in this electronics facility. We had 7 people at the time, and my business partner and I, and we were doing about $400K in revenue. And I took everything that I'd learned and I kind of built like this, my very first custom selling system for a company that fit. And so I spent a lot of time on development of that. And literally within 4 years, that company just took off, right? It went from 400K to just over 8 million a year in revenues. And I went from 7 employees to 110 that were working for me. And then literally I had a army of sales representatives across the United States. I had 1,000 sales pros working for me for just to continually bring in new, because we were focused on tier ones. So we're selling to Raytheon and Boeing and TRW Lucas. And we were making things that were so crazy, like cryogenic laser guidance systems for missiles in the sky and like all these amazingly crazy cool stuff. That's what my company was manufacturing at the time. I loved it. And then I hit my wall, right? We always talk about the wall. What's the wall? Well, I wanted to run this thing as my baby. That was my jam. I was crushing it. And my business partner sold it from underneath me in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Rug right out, right?
whoa.
7-figure move. I lost that much. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. And at the time, then I was like, I like to drink. And so I started drinking a lot. And it was a tough time. That time it was right when I met Melissa, and she's like, yo, you got to knock that shit off, right? So she kind of pulled me out of the bottle. She's been my ray of sunshine. She's my soulmate, and I'm just so grateful for her every single day. She keeps me on track. I'm just forever thankful for that. So that's like really kind of how my relationship with Melissa started. And then we started growing together. She saw all my success, and she's like, I believe in you. I was like, this is great because you're like the only person on earth I feel believes in me right now. So I took a job as a roofer, or actually selling roofing material, not so much as a roofer. And I realized after about 3 years, I broke a few sales records. And then I realized that like, I don't like working with roofers because of how they are. And I'll just leave it at that. And so I left that industry. And right about that time, Melissa saw a Facebook ad. And that drew us onto the online space. Like, hey, if we can work together online, then we could create a fishing life because we love fly fishing. That's our jam. So we started doing this affiliate thing, and we invested a bunch of money. We invested, it was like, I think it was like a $10,000 or $12,000 investment. And then the system or whatever that we purchased. And I got on the phone with my first coach ever. Never really had a coach in the online space before, and started talking with him. And I realized that I could actually sell better than he could right from the very first phone because of my background. And so then I was like, hey, can I just go? How do I do this? And so then we built this massive tribe. It was a direct selling business, direct marketing, sold water ionization systems for home use. And we ended up crushing it, right? We built an enormous army. We had about 2,500 people in our downline, and we had a list of like 300,000 people that we'd created. And in that mix, I met Chris like 3 years prior to that. And I asked Chris, I was like, dude, you're running a State Farm agency. Do you like the internet? Was the question I asked him. And he goes, what kind of a question is that, Sean? Of course I like the internet, right? So we ended up talking back and forth. And I said, dude, really would love your help and assistance and leadership in this program. So he came on, and literally we partnered right then and there. And that was about 4 years ago. And we ended up building this tremendous downline. And literally our tribe came back to us and said, hey, you guys need a software company. Never built a software company. We're like, okay, let's go do that. And just for everyone's record, so like our software company generated, I think like $12 million in sales of the water systems. And then the software company got us that award there. Just in over 10 months off a $99 offer, we created $1 million on the front end and like 10, 12 million on the back end of that. And then our coach, Russell Brunson, was like, you hate the people you're serving. You need to kill your baby and go do something else. Another wall. Wham. So we're like, what do we do? At the time, we were working with Alex Sharfin, another one of our coaches, and he said, what are you good at? And we said, sales. And he said, well, you should start talking to a bunch of sales people, entrepreneurs that are doing sales, and see what problems they have. Like, great idea. Started talking with them, and we realized, oh my gosh, a lot of people are having this conversion problem that Chris and I are very versed in. He's got a really great backstory as well. And so we started serving these high-end entrepreneurs in the space, some of the best advertising agencies and marketing companies that are out there online. And we had 100% success rate. It was insane. Took several companies into 8 figures. We did like some really big stuff with them. And this whole journey, we're like, we have a model problem. We have a model problem. Enter Chris Williams. Okay, so this is like the best part of the whole story, because there'd been so much pain and trial and tribulation and spending thousands on things like challenges and front-end offers that never worked for us. And we always decided, like, man, we have this model problem because we're working like 16, 18 hours a day. We're trying to run these 2 things. It doesn't work. Like, what's the best thing? And our friend Brennan was like, yo, you should meet Chris Williams. And that's where you came in the picture. And you're like, this dude's amazing. And I was so excited to like meet you. And of course, Chris is the diligence guy. So he went deep on you and your background. He came back. He's like, guys, I'm really ready to move. And we're quick movers, and he was a little slower. So it's like, let's go. Where's like, cut the check, right? And so we got involved with you. We jumped into your mastermind late, as you know, like, and we were like, we just got to go fast. Like, we got to run and do this thing. So we took the mastermind model and we just absorbed your content, and we're like, okay, he's doing this for full agencies. And it was almost as if do you know who Dana Derricks is?
No.
So Dana Derricks is the high ticket book guy. But he's more than that. He started with the Dream 100 strategy. So he was in Russell Brunson's inner circle, and Russell came out with the Dream 100 concept that he learned from Chet Holmes. And Dana said, that's my path. I'm going to take that one little piece that Russell's doing, because he was doing funnels for businesses, the Dream 100 concept, and he made an entire business model out of it. Mm-hmm. So I had that in my mind, and I'm watching Chris Williams, right, the guru of all gurus, and I'm seeing what he's doing, and I'm like, oh, there's that little piece of prospecting that he just glided right over, and he didn't take the time to really express there's a lot of work involved with this one little piece. And that's fine, because I love how you do what you do. And Chris and I looked at each other, we're like, dude, that's our little sliver. We're going to take that and build a massive business around it. And here's why. It wasn't just because the model fit, it was natural progression, but it was literally, we knew that from serving all these high-end entrepreneurs, that their sales journey wasn't so much in the conversion, but it was with putting qualified people on a calendar. That's the biggest problem, because most entrepreneurs are so passionate about what they do. You put them in front of somebody, they're probably going to convert. But it's just, how do you consistently do that every day, every week, every month, right? And so we said, we're going to create a mastermind with Chris Williams flair that just focuses on that one thing of, if you're looking for the transformation of having a systematic and automatic way of putting people on your sales calendar every single day, this is the system. This is the mastermind that's going to give you that. And we're going to show you how to outsource it. And then literally that's going to stumble into sales conversion problems, which, by the way, we're the experts at. And that was the creation of the whole thing.
That's amazing. So now you're taking people and teaching them how to prospect and sell.
Yeah.
Dude, that's brilliant. Especially from somebody, oh my gosh, with your history. Like, what the heck? That's freaking brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, well, thanks.
So what we'll do is below or above or next to this, wherever we post this, because I want people to be able to find you, we'll drop the links and all the stuff to make sure they can connect to wherever you're hanging out when this is, wherever it is, you know how it is, everything changes.
Of course.
And I want to make sure people are getting connected, because prospecting is, I want to say it's like the center hub of a wheel with all the spokes coming out. There's so many cool things that distract us or that make us successful as entrepreneurs, but without the prospecting, everything literally just flies out and falls apart.
Couldn't agree more,
dude.
And I think that's so the key. And I just love, I mean, just recently, like the value that you drop in your Facebook group, dude, is insane. People should just pay for that. I don't know why they don't, but they should.
Because we don't ask them to.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's probably why. But like, I mean, the questions that you answered, and just recently, like the way that you answer your questions, like the demeanor that you have about you, like you ooze the stuff that I call calm confidence, right? And so, like, if I could tell you, like, what I feel like I totally admire about you is the way your confidence level is through the roof, because it's very calm. It's the right way to approach anybody at any time. And literally you connect on a level that's so much deeper because of your personality. And I just love watching you in action, because I think, like, in anybody that's learning to want to be a good communicator that's watching this right now, like, just observe what Chris does, how he acts, when he does what he does, the things that he shows, like, you know, because you talk about this lifestyle of not working a lot. And most people talk about that, but they never show that, right? You're always showing that, which, and I think is a bigger piece. And it speaks volumes to your background and your history and some of the things that you've done in your world that have had tremendous results and big impact for other people too.
And thanks for saying that. Well, thank you. Thank you for being in our group, first of all. It's a privilege to get to know you and Melissa, and obviously Chris, your partner as well. But you guys are just crushing it. And I definitely want anybody who's working on prospecting the sales piece to reach out to you guys, because I trust you. And that's the only reason I'm having this conversation and asking you guys to speak into this issue, is because I trust you. And there's so many people out there who are selling some sales system or some prospecting system or some get rich quick system. And that's not what you guys do. You show people how to do it. Sure, they might get rich quick, and sure, they're going to have tons of leads, and sure, they're going to be able to sell a ton of stuff, but you're doing it the right way. You're doing it with integrity, and you're laying the foundation for people to build amazing things. So thanks. Well done. Can't wait to see who jumps in there with you, because you guys are rock stars.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the time, man. It's always great to chat, connect.
Absolutely.